Hello, welcome everybody to another episode of Tables, Ladders, and Chairs. I'm your host, Eric, joined as always by my co-host, T. T, how are you tonight?
Doing okay.
All right, man. We are on the road to the Royal Rumble. It got kind of heated last week, and in this cold weather, I could use some heat. Between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, as I was curious what your thoughts were on Paul Heyman, what he had to say, and sort of the response between you know Brock and Paul Heyman, and then it almost seemed like Paul set up Brock for a cheap shot. Did you get that impression?
Uh, I was too busy seeing Paul being weird. It's like when they had him paired with Ryback. It
Yeah,
got that kind of weird. It's like they're trying to do that again.
yeah. It almost feels like Paul Heyman backing a. I guess is Brock Lesnar considered like what is Brock considered right now? Is he considered a face?
Oh, he's kind of doing both.
Right. I kind of feel that way too.
Looks like he's high fiving fans, taking pictures and all that. But then on Raw, he was like, Lashley's nothing, blah, 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 whatever.
I love. Did you like the whole where we've gone to in sports entertainment? Brock Lesnar standing in Philadelphia doing knock knock jokes.
What a time we live in.
What a time to be alive! It's funny. It actually, if you had watched, which I know you didn't, because you're not a sports guy, and that's okay. I don't judge you for it. Um, but on my sports podcast yesterday, I talked about some of the greats that we've been alive to see as far as in the sports world. How about a time to be alive to where, like Brock Lesnar, with as much of a like, and I kind of like the Stone Killer Brock Lesnar character. Like I kind of like that. I really like. I was a big fan of the like 2002 2003 Brock Lesnar. And I even kind of like the 2012 Brock Lesnar when he first came back. This Brock Lesnar, like there was a period there, I want to say between like 2016 to 2000. Well, what year are we in? 22. 2016 to 2000. I'll just say 2020. That I couldn't stand Brock Lesnar. Like I mean, categorically hated him. Like not just didn't like the character, not just didn't like the stories that he was involved in. I sat here and was basically like, I just don't like Brock Lesnar, like the person. And like it's very rare that I make that comment about somebody in WWE because like it's a character they're putting on. But so many times I was told that like that really was who, and maybe it was just they were trying to portray that when they said that's just who Brock Lesnar is. Like he's not portraying a character. That's just Brock Lesnar. Like I mean, to the point where Paul Heyman, in an interview, like amongst many reporters, said to everybody, like, "What if? What?" And let's go with it. And we know now that this isn't the case, but let's just suspend reality for a minute. What if at WrestleMania 30, Brock Lesnar went into business for himself?
Ugh, I saw that one.
Yes. Like, what could they do? Like, he's the guy who just beat The Undertaker. You can't fire him and then, really tear down that fourth wall. Like, there's really not much you could do. And that made me hate him even more. And I think that was the point of the Paul Heyman interview, was he wanted us to hate Brock Lesnar even more. But this Brock Lesnar, like the Brock Lesnar that's Canadian besties with Sami Zayn, I dig that character. Like he's entertaining. Like finally I'm seeing that like 2002 version of Brock Lesnar that I always thought his character could evolve into. That like entertaining character who like, yeah, at a moment's notice, he could become a stone killer. but like he's also the guy sitting there, you know, shooting the breeze with Sami Zayn, being like, "Let's go hunting." Like I'm just there, I'm like, this is amazing. And when he takes the wheelchair and is pushing him along, and Sami Zayn's like, I guess we're doing this. Like it was hilarious. Like I could not, like I'm sitting here, and now mind you, like look, typically I record the shows and I'll watch them a little later. Like so it was Friday night, I was watching a little bit of the NBA and like had a couple beers and was just like, you know, around like 10:30 on a Friday night, because I don't work weekends. I was like, yeah, I'll put on SmackDown. Let's see how the beginning goes, see if it hooks me. And I'm watching that. And as that happens, I am sitting here like practically spitting up my beer as I'm cracking up watching him do that. Like, and again, like somebody who, like, I've watched wrestling since I was like 10 years old. Like, if you can get me hooked into it like that, you're doing good work. So I say all this to come back to kind of a, like, what is Brock Lesnar? Like, what is Roman Reigns right now? I mean, I guess he's still a heel. Like
uh,
he just kicked out Paul Heyman. Like, and isn't Paul Heyman like the, like typically, like if you were a heel working with a heel manager, and then you
yep.
come wise to a heel manager doing you dirty, wouldn't you become a babyface?
I don't know anymore. It's
What
like
kind of world do we live in now?
everyone in the world title picture right now
Is a heel.
is a heel right now.
And
Um,
not only with the WWE title and the Universal title, the Raw Women's Championship. Doudrop is a heel, and she won the triple threat to get the shot at Becky Lynch at Royal Rumble.
uh,
And
I'm glad they did that.
I am too,
Let them
because it's like
showcase.
somebody different, Becky Lynch and Doudrop. Because I thought for sure this was going to be Bianca Belair, and it was going to be Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair. Because I thought, like, okay, I've been saying I think Liv Morgan should win the Women's Royal Rumble and get the main event WrestleMania title shot with Becky Lynch. Now, now I'll ask you the question before we go into what I think could happen at the Royal Rumble. How do you feel about the brand extension as a thing? Like, do you believe in it? Do you just think they should have like one company? Like, you know,
I mean, it has its moments,
sure.
but
But overall,
uh,
I feel like you're with
overall,
me.
I would say I'm in favor of it, but not by that much.
Okay.
Like it gives some people time to shine. Plus, yeah, like different shows have each tier of their title, and well, except the 24/7 title, which is I guess exclusive to Raw again. Whatever.
Which
Yeah.
should be on both shows, but yeah, since it's a 24/7 title and theoretically anybody should be able to get it.
And speaking of titles on both shows, the Raw Women, I mean, not Raw Women, there I go.
It's
The
okay.
Women's Tag Team Championship. They need to defend those more.
Yes. They like, I mean, part of the appeal to me behind giving Carmella and Queen Selena the women's tag team titles is to get those beautiful faces on both shows.
Yeah, but honestly, without those titles, without that title, they really haven't done much with Queen Zelina.
No, I'm disappointed on that too. Like I would have enjoyed Queen Selena being at least a part of the Raw Women's Championship title picture. I imagine she'll be one of the participants in the Women's Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I think she is.
Which, what do you think about them sort of announcing some of the names, including some of the surprise names, like the Bellas, um, and Lita, and of course, much to my surprise, I guess hell's frozen over, Mickey James.
That's
The
Impact
Impact.
Knockouts champion Mickey James.
That's right. Mickey James, the Knockouts champion, which it's funny. You bring that up. I had DVR'd and I've had it set up on my Sling account to DVR every week Impact Wrestling. And I haven't watched since like the end of October and like just before Bound for Glory. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm going to start watching again. So this week I watched a couple episodes. And I never even realized that Moose cashed in his Call Your Shot Battle Royal win at Bound for Glory and won the Impact World Championship that night. So don't spoil it for me, anybody who knows whether or not he's still Impact World Champion, because in my mind, Moose is just the beginning of his world title picture, his world title reign.
Hey, you're better than me. I haven't watched Impact since like 2013.
So basically, when it became Impact, when it went from TNA.
Just about, yeah.
Yeah. You know, I almost gave up on it. I want to say, God, what year were we talking about it? Like 2018? In fact, there was a year that it was on a channel that I couldn't watch. And so I was just like, screw it. I guess I'm out on that. And then I found out it was going to be on some other station. And I'm like, ooh, I get that station. I'm going to watch it again. Because they bounced around from network to network.
Network, name, owner to owner.
Yeah, I mean, talk about craziness there with a company. But anyway, so my feeling is I don't like the brand extension. Like I never liked it to begin with because I just thought you're one company. Don't insult my intelligence by trying to create your own competition. I think you're one company, and guess what? Whether anybody likes it or not, and I know you haven't watched them, but there's another company out there right now that's kicking your ass. Like they're putting on a better product than you. Stop dividing your talent when right now you're not utilizing the talent you have to get ahead. So I think they should bring the locker rooms together. And the way they do it is unification match between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. And if you include, say, a Royal Rumble winner in there, make it a triple threat for the WWE and Universal titles, much like a few years ago when you had, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, and Ronda Rousey in the main event of WrestleMania. You could do Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, and I'll say Drew McIntyre, but insert whatever name you want. So, like, if you put that in the main event of WrestleMania, I think that works. Like, there's a precedence for this. I just brought up Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey, and Charlotte Flair a couple of years ago. Last year, you had Edge, Roman Reigns, and Daniel Bryan, which, how about it? At different times, all three of those guys, we thought their careers might be over. And then they all three main evented last year's WrestleMania. Like, how cool was that?
That was amazing.
And if Edge had won, it would have been 10 years to the day that he relinquished the world championship, that he would have won it back. I think, like, to me, that's why I thought Edge was going to win, because, like, you couldn't pass up on that kind of history. But kudos to WWE for not giving into that, because that would have been easy to do.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they're ever gonna put another title on Edge. I mean, he's showing up to work, man.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, he's definitely proven that he's trustworthy and that you can depend on him. Like, I know they were probably concerned when right away he tore his tricep on, like, his, second match back.
Yeah. The greatest match ever against Randy Orton.
Yeah. Which, whenever you build it as the greatest match ever, you set yourself up. And I am completely convinced the only reason why Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles for the Intercontinental title was not on Backlash that year was because They didn't want the fans out there saying not only was Randy Orton and Edge not the greatest wrestling match of all time, it wasn't the greatest wrestling match on the card. I'm completely convinced that's the only reason they didn't put that match, the finals of that Intercontinental title tournament, on Backlash. It's because they knew that was going to be what people said. It was greatest wrestling match ever. That wasn't the greatest wrestling match of the night. But anyway, so yeah, I think they should unify the belts. And the way that they do that is, like I said, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, and whoever wins the Royal Rumble. I'll put it that way. I've been telling you my pick to win the Royal Rumble is Drew McIntyre. Look, I feel like this Royal Rumble is very unpredictable. Like, there's a lot of guys who I feel like you could make the case for to win this Royal Rumble. But that's my pick. And then that's the triple threat match. On the women's side, how interesting is it that Charlotte Flair has said that she is entering the Royal Rumble, even though she is the SmackDown Women's Champion, which would further my notion of unifying the women's championships if, and I know nobody's going to want to hear this, and I'm with you because I don't want to even say this, but Charlotte, and I'm a big Charlotte Flair fan, and I don't like this idea. Having Charlotte Flair win the Royal Rumble again and main event WrestleMania again.
That'd be a back-to-back win, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would. Yeah, she won last year. You're right. No. She won 2 years ago. Bianca Belair won last year.
That's right.
It will be another 2 in 3 years, just like I'm having with Drew. Because they won the same Royal Rumble in 2020.
Well, it would give Charlotte more to brag about.
Yay, and that's just what we need.
She'd be the first woman to
win multiple Royal Rumbles. Yeah. Why not? Let's just let her be the first to do everything for the women. But she's not the first Women's Royal Rumble winner because you know who that is.
A woman's been missing for quite some time. Asuka.
I think she's going to make a return. I know. We kind of need her to.
Yeah.
And I kind of want, like, I know we had Asuka and Kairi Sane as a tag team, the Kabuki Warriors. I want Asuka and Io as a tag team.
Absolutely.
Of course, I wanted at the time Asuka, Io, and Kairi Sane as a faction. Like, I thought that would have been a great women's faction.
Yeah, I thought they were going to go for that, but I guess they kept Io down in NXT, and I'm glad they did.
I thought that was so stupid. And you could have had, like, the New Day or, Freebirds rule. Have them win the women's tag team titles, and, like, you could interchange them, either combination of the three. Like, I thought that would have been just a cool way to really push the women's tag team championships. Okay. So I didn't really get your reaction, your thoughts on my idea of Charlotte winning the Royal Rumble. Charlotte and Becky again at WrestleMania to unify the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships. This would further my motion of bringing us all together, unifying the Raw and SmackDown locker rooms.
I mean, it would give Charlotte more to brag with, but I mean, you gotta give someone else a chance.
I'm with you, and but now, if I were to have that WrestleMania main event, and that would probably be night one main event, Charlotte versus Becky. I would have to think that afterwards, we have to right away go with somebody else in the main event picture for the women's championship. Like, whether it be Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, maybe Io, you call it from NXT. Like, you'd have to immediately go to, because otherwise you're just going to further the notion that Tony Storm gave that, the women's division is just all about kissing the ass of Charlotte Flair. And that's essentially what she said that the women's division is everybody has to suck up to Charlotte Flair, and just because of who her daddy is. And I'll say it, like, and I'm a big Charlotte fan. I think Charlotte does great work in the ring, but they're sucking up to her because of who her daddy is.
Absolutely.
Like, if I was her daddy, nobody would care. Right?
Yeah.
Like, as much as I want to inflate my own ego, nobody gives a damn about me. Charlotte, like, if she was Charlotte Ward, nobody cares. But because she's Charlotte Flair, everybody says, ooh, do woo, and put on the figure 4. And, do a chop in the corner. And maybe do that little flip that he like to do when you get thrown into a corner. Like I get it. Like, and again, like, this is all coming from the premise, I like Charlotte Flair. Like, I am a fan of Charlotte Flair's. But I don't need the Ric Flair reboot. Like, some of the, like, and now granted, she tries to do some stuff on her own, like the whole, like, outside moonsault thing. That's really cool. And turning the figure 4 into the figure 8, that's a pretty cool twist on it. But other than that, like, I mean, what does she do that's not just a reboot of Ric Flair?
Yeah, exactly, man. She comes out with the robe and all.
Into the variation of the Ric Flair music.
Yeah.
Like, and again, I get it. Like, that's your dad, and like, you want to pay homage, and like, you figure like everybody's going to compare you to him anyway, so why not just embrace it? And
Hey.
in that respect, in many respects, I don't blame her one bit for doing what she does.
Just be lucky she's not Hulk Hogan's daughter. Then the title would be glued to her.
Oh,
Basically.
God. Although, I wouldn't mind if Brooke Hogan got employed by WWE. But anyway.
That'd be nice. But anyway.
Isn't she married to like a Cowboys, like an old Cowboy center?
You're asking the wrong person.
Well, I hate the Dallas Cowboys. Speaking of which, I wanted to bring up something you posted on Facebook, asking the question, what's the appeal of team sports versus, say, like, sports entertainment? Like, the better characters and the more entertainment value, as opposed to just a collection of millionaires that aren't even from the city that they represent. And I get what you're saying when you, like, because, like, I mean, look.
I don't get it. It's just two teams of dudes getting a ball, an odd-shaped ball, to one side of the field. Like, am I supposed to care who number whatever is, as opposed to number whatever?
Oh,
I mean, that guy throws better or catches better. Okay.
And like, I get it. Like, it's not your thing. But like, for me, like, I grew up playing football, and like, so I naturally gravitated towards it. Like, it's just that competitiveness, and then like, you become a fan based on where you're from. Well, theoretically, it should be where you're from. That's a different argument. But like, I grew up being from this area, and going with my dad to Eagles games, and so like, it kind of gets embedded in you. And like, for me, it's like, it's more like, everybody always tells me, because I get really fired up when, like, well, in particular when I feel like the Eagles are getting cheated. Like, if they just get beaten by a better team, like, we can do. But like, when I feel like they're getting cheated in some way, when I feel like the officials got something wrong, or like, just a bounce didn't go their way, like, I get upset, because it's like, it's a representation of what I've grown up with. Like, and I know that they're not like Jalen Hurts, the quarterback of the Eagles right now, is from Houston, Texas. Spoiler alert, Philadelphia fans. He didn't grow up an Eagles fan. He's not Jalen from Delco who freaking goes nuts for the Eagles every week. Like, he's from Houston. The only reason he cares about the Eagles doing good is because he happened to get drafted here and he wants to do good for himself. I got no problem with that. Like, because guess what? If he succeeds, that means my favorite team succeeds. And so that's what it's really about. It's not really about like the individual player. It's the name on the front of the jersey means more than the name on the back. Like for the longest time, like people would ask me, Eric, who's your favorite Eagle? And I would kind of have a hard time answering because in my mind, like, okay, like Brian Dawkins was like my favorite player growing up, like, you know, in the late 90s and early to mid 2000s. Like, and he was my dude. But like, it wasn't like I became a fan of the Eagles because of Brian Dawkins. I became a fan of Brian Dawkins because he was an Eagle. And so, like, it's a different thing. Like it's just a different animal. That's the only way I can think to explain it is like the appeal isn't like you're not selling like some big showmanship. This is these guys playing a game you know as a kid at the highest level, and you want to see your team that you watch because you love this game that you play and you never got to play it at the highest level. You want to see them take it. You want to see them win it all. Just, guess like if there was a wrestler that you saw in the independent circuit, okay, and you saw and said, man, that dude's got it. Like you want to see him take it to that next level. You want to see him then, oh well, let's see if he can get signed by developmental and WWE and go to NXT. And then, oh man, he's killing it in NXT. And then you see him go to WWE to the main roster. And then it's like, man, he works his butt off throughout the main roster. And then he gets to the main event of WrestleMania. Well, you kind of take some personal pride in that because you saw him coming before anybody else. Well, like that's kind of what it's like because, like, man, from the second you learn to be a sports fan, like you identify with one team. And then that team becomes your team. And it's no longer, oh, they need to do this, they need to do that. It's we need to do that because, in a sense, as a fan, like you become part of it. And I do believe in that. Like I do believe, like some people take it too far. And I know I'm off on a tangent. Like, you know, like when I say, oh, we, the Eagles, have to go to Tampa and they're going to do this and do that in order to beat the Buccaneers this Sunday. Like, I know I'm not part of the game plan, but I feel like it. I don't know. Does that make sense, the appeal then? Yeah. I'm not asking you to buy in, but I'm saying, do you now understand why somebody would buy in?
Yeah, I guess. It's a whole team pride thing.
It's about being a part of something that's bigger than yourself. Like, and that's hard because in the end, like, even if you are a part of a team, like, you have yourself to worry about. Like, if you fall apart, that team does have to be next man up and move on. And, like, look, one of the greatest things I ever heard was Tom Brady talk about he got injured one year. And, like, it was first game of the season, tore his ACL. And it was in the first quarter. And he's laying there and he's feeling like, my God, my life's falling apart. What's, like, you know, he doesn't know what's really wrong with his knee. He's going to get carted off. And as he's getting carted off, he looks back and he sees the referee blow the ready to play whistle. And 40 seconds goes on the game clock and they got to run the next play. And it was kind of a reminder to him that no matter how great he thinks he is, man, nobody's bigger than the game. That it's just the team has to move on if you go down. And just like in WWE, like Seth Rollins tore his ACL on the European trip, and he was WWE champion, was rolling towards having a main event match with Roman Reigns. that they were going to tear the house down. And, they sit there and say, okay, we got to adjust our plans, crown a new champion, and life goes on. So that's where, like, you can draw parallels to the two.
Just trying to understand.
I know, and I'm trying to help you. But I think it's something that, like, when you get it, you get it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I guess the first step into getting all that is you got to be a football fan.
I would love to take you and let you I think one game wouldn't work. You need to watch a season with me. Would you be willing to try that with me? Maybe not a whole season, maybe just the away games, because I go to all the Eagles home games. And would you be willing to try watching at least some of the away games with me?
Maybe.
Okay. Next year we could try this. Next September, I'm telling you, opening weekend, just watch one game with me. And I will explain things the best I can, but understand at a certain point it's going to be me just breaking down and it's me and the TV. Like, and I watch it with my family, and there are points in time during the game where it's just me and the TV. And like, I will have full-on conversations with the announcers, in which there's one announcer, Mark Schlereth, who used to play, and now he's a commentator, and his nickname is Stink because he was an offensive lineman, and it's like he's one of those big bruiser types. And there are times he'll say things, and you just hear me sit there, "Shut up, Stink." In fact, I have some friends who just enjoy watching games like with me if Mark Schlereth is the announcer, because they just want to see if my head will actually explode.
But speaking of commentators that used to be athletes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nice segue.
Supposedly, Corey Graves has been cleared to wrestle.
And I'm wondering what this is going to mean, because right now, dude, Corey Graves is the best color commentator they have in any brand. Now, Pat McAfee is awesome, but Corey Graves is like, he's a knowledgeable wrestling guy.
You saying he's better than McAfee?
I'm saying, like, he understands the art of what they're putting on better than Pat McAfee. And so he can tell a better story. Pat McAfee's entertaining as hell. But as far as being able to be the traditional WWE color commentator, Corey Graves is better in that regards than Pat McAfee. Now, if you ask me, sit down, watch one show, who do I like, and choose my commentating team, it's probably Michael Cole and Pat McAfee, because it's entertaining as hell. But if I want to learn more from it, I'm taking Corey Graves as the color commentator. What are your thoughts? Do you think he's getting back in the ring, or is this just one of those, like, he wants to be cleared, so if they want to do some spots with him where, like, maybe a commentator takes a bump, he'll be okay? I think they're going to start with letting him take some bumps as a commentator and then see if they can work from there.
If they have enough time, they'll probably make him a surprise Rumble entrant.
That'd be pretty cool. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I don't think they'll put him on as a full-time wrestler. Not yet, anyway.
Now, let's be honest. Like, he wasn't really on the verge of getting called up to the main roster when he got injured. Like, he was solidly, like, NXT. And, like, that was back when NXT was supposed to just be the developmental. So he wasn't, I don't feel like he wasn't close to being, like, on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown.
I never actually got to see any of his matches. Like,
Mhm.
probably right after he got injured, probably when I started watching NXT.
It's funny. One of the few matches that he was on television in NXT, like they show a close up of his knuckles, and I love what he has tattooed on his knuckles to where it reads out "Stay down." And one of the I think it was Alex Riley was commentating, and he goes like, "Man, this guy has no backup career options. He's gonna be a WWE superstar." And then when they're like, "Yeah, he's injured and can't make it," I'm like, "Oh shoot, I guess he better have some backup options." But it's hilarious.
Hey,
It's literally like if he takes his knuckles and shows you like this, it would say read across, "Stay down."
yeah, actually, I forget which game he was in. Might have been 2K13 or 14, where he was a playable character.
Oh,
I actually
excellent.
actually used his entrance and his theme song as mine,
Oh, cool.
despite not seeing the guy wrestle. Yeah, just like him doing all that. I don't
Yeah,
know.
so now that makes sense, him doing that.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to see that.
I know. I want to see that. I want to see like maybe they'll have him show up on NXT or like you said, be an entrant in the Royal Rumble. That'd be great.
Well, I definitely need guys and girls.
Yeah.
Hell, they're reaching out to Impact, getting Mickey James.
I'm wondering what kind of deal they had to cut with Impact to do that. That had to be some major scuttle.
I wonder if she'll bring the belt with her.
That'd be pretty cool. Give him some exposure. Maybe that will
Yeah,
be the deal. Just give Impact exposure. Let her bring the Impact World Championship onto the Royal Rumble. Maybe let her do a backstage segment with her walking around wearing it.
yeah, that'd be cool. But even leaving Impact out of this, how did they get Mickey James to agree? Because they fired her ass and gave her stuff and her in a trash bag. Yeah.
I gotta. Well, one thing I do know is like WWE took that seriously and fired the person that was responsible for that, and I believe made him pack his belongings in a trash bag. No, I don't know about that, but
Well, that I'm sure that was all Triple H is doing, looking into that. But
yeah,
like
yeah,
everyone,
I do know Triple H looked into that and was very much like appalled by that happening.
but like everyone else, like I don't know, maybe Bruce Pritchard or fuck, what's the guy? Forgot the other guy's name.
Well, let's see. I mean, Bruce Pritchard is the main guy I know of in the backstage. Oh, I think I know who you're
Guy
talking about. The guy who was always
something,
on Total Divas, Mark Carano.
maybe, but no, it's not him. It's Johnny something.
Oh, John Laurinaitis.
Thank you.
Does he still work with the company?
I don't know. Does he?
We can say he does. Who's going to stop us?
Yeah.
Don't worry, nobody's listening anyway. Yeah, no, I I do know that Triple H and Stephanie McMahon did get to the bottom of that. They felt terrible about the way that went down. They try to be a first-rate company that doesn't want to mistreat their superstars and their talents, and someone like Mickey James, who I would have to believe at some point is going to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame.
She better.
Like I feel like there are some notable women missing from the Hall of Fame right now. Like and forget as much as I want to say China, and China should be standing alone in the Hall of Fame. Like um Sable, how is she not in the Hall of Fame?
Mhm.
Victoria should be in the Hall of Fame at some point. Mickey James should be in the Hall of Fame at some point.
And I'm surprised they didn't take Sonny out like they did Hulk Hogan.
See, I don't like the idea of taking people out. One, and this is going to be a fun topic to discuss. I want a physical Hall of Fame, like a Hall of Fame we can go visit. Put it in Stanford, put it in New York, put it wherever you want.
I heard
There should be a. What's that?
I heard they were like building something, but then that just died away. Like I
They
heard they
really
were
should build
building.
something, and like you could do Hall of Fame from there every year, and you don't have to make it associated with WrestleMania, especially if you're doing WrestleMania over 2 nights. You don't really have time for it. Like do Hall of Fame as a separate entity, a separate thing, and do like almost like what WCW used to do with Slamboree, like their original Slamborees were supposed to be a Legends reunion, and like that's when they did their Hall of Fame. Like it wasn't associated with their biggest pay-per-view, Starrcade. It was kind of a standalone thing. And I would love to see WWE do that, have like a standalone time where they say, this is Hall of Fame time. And if you want to be, maybe it could kick off WrestleMania week. Do it like the Sunday before WrestleMania. You have Hall of Fame at the physical Hall of Fame. Okay. And then, everybody after the Hall of Fame, they all file out and they go on to wherever Monday Night Raw is going to be. And then, you do all your WrestleMania week activities. And you have Friday Night SmackDown. Saturday is, I still think WrestleMania should just be one night and do Saturday TakeOver, Sunday WrestleMania. Like, to me, that's what it should be. Hall of Fame on one Sunday, WrestleMania on the next.
And then you got Raw, NXT. Just gotta fill Wednesday and Thursday.
You can do something like Wednesday could be the Slammies. They used to do this, like they had a 2-year stretch there, WrestleMania 12 and 13, where they did the Slammies as a part of WrestleMania weekend. We haven't done the Slammies in a couple of years. Let's have the Slammies Wednesday of WrestleMania week.
And then Thursday could be like a cheap throwaway Road to WrestleMania type show where
you have like say you have a panel and they talk about the upcoming WrestleMania. And like you could do like the different topics, like maybe the greatest matches in the history of WrestleMania, the greatest moments in the history of WrestleMania. Like you could do all that stuff. You could do like in the first one, you could do tribute to the Undertaker for the Undertaker's streak. And then what was that? So Tuesday was NXT, Wednesday was the Slammies, Thursday is like WrestleMania countdown night. And then Friday, SmackDown, Saturday, TakeOver, Sunday, WrestleMania. Boom.
8 straight days of WWE.
I'm cool with it.
Oh my.
Actually, it would be 9 because then you've got Raw. 10. You got Raw and NXT the next 2 days.
That is true.
I am okay with all of that as well.
A Raw after Mania is typically a good show.
Yeah. It's typically the best Monday Night Raw of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So our assignments for the week. You had me watch a WrestleMania match, and it kind of got me thinking along the same lines we asked earlier. Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar. Who's the babyface? Who's the heel? Bobby Lashley, Brock Lesnar. Who's the babyface? Who's the heel? Roman, Seth Rollins. Who's the babyface? Who's the heel? The match you had me watch, The Big Show, Floyd Mayweather. Who's the babyface? Who's the heel? Like, I know typically in a celebrity versus main roster situation, it's typically the celebrities, the babyface, and the the regular wrestler is the heel, because you want the one that's the celebrity who's bringing in the outside audience to, you know, to be the one getting cheered. Floyd Mayweather was not getting cheered that night. And then he did some underhanded tactics, including taking off his boxing glove, putting on brass knucks, and knocking out the Big Show. Was I supposed to be impressed? Like, was I supposed to be intimidated? Was I supposed to be scared of him? Am I missing something? Because he didn't scare me not one damn bit. Like, that was a Steve Austin thing with the whole, like, they used to do the what, and he did that exact same line. I wish I could remember who it was against, but, like, I just wanted to recite that whole thing. Like, I couldn't tell who the babyface was and who the heel was. There wasn't a whole lot of great wrestling action. I mean, okay, Mayweather, like, the Big Show did what I expected him to do, kind of toss Mayweather around like a rag doll. And, like, I found myself, much like in the actual match when I watched it the first time, I found myself rooting for the Big Show. And I'm like, I don't think that's what I'm supposed to be doing here as a fan. But, like, that's all I can do. Because everything Mayweather did was underhanded and dirty. And I'm like, wait, like, am I supposed to be cheering for you?
Well, I think they got closer to that WrestleMania. They obviously with Big Show involved, they did a flip flop.
Well, sure.
So Big Show was the face and Mayweather was the heel.
Because everything they did with Mayweather, I'm just like, he comes across like a pussy. Like, sorry, everybody. Sorry for my language, but, like... And so the Big Show, like, and then, like, he gets knocked out by some brass knucks. I'm like, oh, man. Like, I was disappointed. I wanted Big Show to squash Mayweather.
I think they had to protect Mayweather's undefeated thing or whatever too.
Yeah, you know it's a scripted environment, right? Like, they didn't count that as one of Mayweather's wins or one of his knockouts in his boxing career. Although when he fought Manny Pacquiao, I was sitting there with my dad. It's like, Eric, who do you think's going to win? I'm like, I'll go with the only guy who's ever won a match at WrestleMania. I'll go with Mayweather. And I won that night. So yeah, that was my assessment. Didn't really know who the heel or the face was. Overall, I mean, look, most celebrity matches aren't that good. Bad Bunny, I think, is the exception to the rule. And, like, that was a really entertaining match that he had. Ronda Rousey, I'll say, for being a celebrity who tried to come in and become a full-time wrestler, she really took to it. And so I really appreciate it. Like, I don't think enough is said about the great work she did making the transition from mixed martial arts to WWE style. And in particular, in her very first match, being as entertaining as she was at WrestleMania 34.
Yeah, but closer towards the end. Well, I don't know if it's the end, but
The end of her
let's say the pause of her run. She was starting to take that boon from the crowd personally. And I guess she turned herself heel.
Yeah, I just don't think she understood why fans who are, look, wrestling fans are weird. Like, we are.
Yeah.
Like, if we don't see you as like as a true, like, they want to see, like, wrestling fans a lot of times want to be able to see it and look at that and say, that could be me in there. And, like, that they have that same passion, that dream of just wanting to be there. And when they look at somebody like Ronda Rousey, who is there because she's famous. Now, she worked damn hard to get where she was, but, like, she had made a reputation in somewhere else and then was brought in. It wasn't like she had worked her ass off to be this, like, you know, independent wrestler. Like, Shayna Baszler was a mixed martial artist. She worked with Ronda Rousey. But Shayna Baszler is accepted because she wasn't famous in that world. And because Ronda Rousey was and is, like, I feel like she gets the resentment because they feel like everything got thrown on her. She was the favorite because of her celebrity status. And I feel like that's what she couldn't understand, is that fans resented the fact they didn't feel like she paid her dues the way other women in that locker room did.
And that's wait, hold on. I forgot how I was about to word my statement. Damn it. Oh well, screw it.
Well, okay, what's the gist of what you were trying to say?
Well, not that. Yeah, she was famous in the MMA world, but also with her good looks and her MMA skills, she became like an actual celebrity.
Right.
Like she was in commercials and shit.
Yeah, like she was in the Entourage movie.
Oh yeah, in movies too. Like,
Yeah.
so it could be another like reason fans turn
Mm,
on her. Like, it's another celebrity. I mean, even though she's like a legit fighter and all.
sure. Okay. So, time for your match. I gave you DX, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H versus the McMahons and the Big Show inside of Hell in a Cell at Unforgiven 2006.
Well, that was a bloody good match, pun intended. Everyone but Big Show got busted open.
Yeah.
Triple H in particular.
Yeah, how did you like the selling of his like equilibrium being off and like the inner ear thing?
I wonder if that's why when he dropped that one knee on McMahon, he missed very far away.
Yeah,
And the camera was like right on it.
yeah, I know. He did not come close.
And then Vince tried to sell it real quick.
Yeah, he did. Kudos to Vince for knowing that you got to try to sell that somehow.
But Shane, at the end, he sold his injuries.
And I'm assuming he had like the capsules or something to bite on to let loose all that blood.
Yep. Blood coming from his mouth, his eyes glazed over, like barely twitching, moving.
Yeah, he definitely had the Krispy Kreme eyes.
Oh, but let's not forget the one spot where Vince McMahon joined a certain club.
I was the Kiss My Ass Club on the Big Show.
Yep.
That was fantastic.
Ah, that'd be so gross though. Not just because of that, but
Because it's a Big
Vince's
Show.
face was covered in blood too. Like
Yeah.
bloody Vince McMahon face going right into Big Show's ass. Man.
Yeah. I kind of feel like, how do I follow that with your next assignment?
I love how the camera like cut away from Big Show. He was cracking up.
Yeah, no, he was definitely starting to laugh, and they had to cut away from the like, oh shit, Big Show's laughing.
But yeah, they brought that DX humor and that DX beatdown.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't quite know how to follow that. I will say that starting after the Royal Rumble, I've decided. Well, I think that each of our assignments between the end of after the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania will be a WrestleMania match. So that will be something we can do over the course of, I guess it's about 10 weeks. So have in your mind 10 WrestleMania matches that you'd like me to watch, and I'll have 10 for you.
Okay.
So next week, or for this week, to come up with the assignments, I'm kind of winging it here. In case you can't tell, I'm trying to buy myself some time. I'll tell you what, a match I want you to watch is a match near and dear to my own heart, an ECW matchup. Of course, it was from the reboot, but it's still an ECW. It still counts. From One Night Stand, the main event, John Cena versus Rob Van Dam.
Oh, sure.
All right.
I know most of that match by heart, but sure.
Would you want me to pick out a different one then?
No, I'll watch it again.
Okay. All right.
Just to hear the crowd. Fuck you, Cena. And then Cena wins, we riot sign.
Yeah, I loved all of that. I was like a kid in a candy store watching that match.
All right, then. My match will be from the same pay-per-view.
Okay.
It'll be the other world title match. Sabu versus Rey Mysterio.
Ooh, the match had ended early, yeah.
Yeah, I wish they didn't do that, but hey.
I think they just didn't want an ECW. They didn't want an ECW wrestler to lose. And they knew if it was Rey Mysterio, he would have to lose clean. And they didn't want to kill the momentum of ECW. And they also didn't want ECW to win both world titles because the main point was that Rob Van Dam was winning the WWE title that night and going to crown it as the ECW title. So they weren't going to have Sabu also become world champion. So they had to do something, and that was I feel like that was probably the right call, even though I didn't like it at the time.
That would have been fun. Sabu with the big gold belt.
Oh, I would have loved it, but I just think they had the edge. They just weren't going to have both world titles go to ECW.
Yeah, I guess.
All right, well, I guess we're watching One Night Stand for next week.
Sounds good to me.
I enjoyed it. One of my favorite pay-per-views.
Same.
All right, everybody, have a great night. We've got our assignments. We're going to go watch them. And everyone, happy wrestling.
See ya.
Yeah.